It's Wednesday, January 22nd, 2020. I'm going to talk about some of the negative side effects from testosterone that I've experienced. Sorry for the delay in videos, but I want to edit my videos and I haven't been really feeling that well. I have a lot of physical pain because of my disabilities. I have multiple fractures to discs in my back causing sciatica, and because of an attack earlier last year, I had an injury to my right side of my body, and my knee has been swelling up, and the pain in my back goes down my right side, which it hasn't been doing before this. So I'll just touch on a couple of the side effects I experienced being on testosterone when I first started. Major one for me was really bad cystic acne, sort of deep acne in my cheeks, and it caused actual scarring to my skin, and some of it had a lot of hair follicles kind of balled up. I remember pulling it out, hair from my skin that had like 4 different hairs wrapped on each other in a tight circle that had been sitting under the skin. And that happened a number of times, and wanna be in the video? I had bad acne, and I didn't discover till a lot later that switching to dolutestrol might help with that. My original prescription was dipro-testosterone, and I had tons of acne from that, and I tried all sorts of medications to get rid of the acne, and nothing worked for me. I found that my skin was just constantly drenched in oil. It didn't matter if, like, I could wash my face, and no matter what I used, tea tree soap to dish soap, within 10-15 minutes I was like at an oil slick on my face again, and there was nothing I could do. It didn't matter if I touched my skin or didn't touch my skin. It didn't matter if I popped pimples or left them. It's just like constantly this bad acne, and to the point that, like, I mean, one of them I left and it became infected under the skin, I think because I left it alone, and didn't try to remove the whitehead or any of the debris that was building up under the skin. And when it finally came to the surface, it just like exploded basically, and it was obviously infected. That was like really horrible to experience, not just for the fact that it was bad, embarrassing acne that caused scars, but just like I would have bad dreams about it too. Like, it was affecting my whole life. So also, like, I avoided going out to stuff. It didn't help with my like having anxiety, and like it added to like all these other factors. So like I stopped going to events and stuff I would normally go to, and it made me isolated, and it is an issue I'm still dealing with. How to overcome that kind of self-embarrassment, I guess, and like feeling like I can't, like I have the anxiety is like built up and become an impediment to my going to social functions. So not that all of it stems from having acne, but I've also experienced other things because of my transition. So like transphobia, outright transphobia because of my transition. So yeah, it added to social anxieties, and on top of just transitioning in general. So and experiencing transphobia, yeah, that was one thing I experienced. And by doing some research, I found that several other people had experienced less acne being on dolutestrol rather than diplotestosterone. So I asked my doctor if I could switch, and they agreed to let me try that. So now I take dolutestrol, and I still get acne, but I have way less than I used to. I think around the time that I switched, I was getting a lot of acne on my back, and that seemed to clear up as well. So that helped quite a bit. Other negative side effects I made like a whole list, but I'm just gonna go through a few right now. I have like a part two. So I had like a tremendous amount of pain in my hands. It almost felt like I had arthritis really bad in my hands, and um, I had slight pain in my feet, but not as bad. I understand that to be because both my hands and my feet grew. My feet went from size 9, 9.5 to like I can wear 10 up to snowboarding boots. I just found out I'm a size 11, which I wasn't before. And with regular shoes, I wear a 10 or 10.5. And I remember before my transition, I could fit into an 8.5. Like it was a bit tight on me, but there was a really cool pair of shoes I wanted at one point that were only available in 8.5, and so I got them because they did fit me. Um, but usually I would wear like a 9 or 9.5, so my feet obviously grew or expanded. I also had a lot of muscle growth around the third and fourth month on T. My muscle density like drastically increased. Like it felt like overnight. I was way stronger than I was before. I looked the same and had the same like physicality, and the size of my muscles looked the same, but they were a lot denser. And that actually caused me issues with like having a sudden increase in upper body strength. My shoulders, my arms, my chest became much heavier and denser with muscle, and it caused me a lot of issues with my back because I have a disability with my back of 4 herniated discs. I was really struggling and having a lot of back pain with holding up my upper body, and having the strength of managing the weight of my upper body. I had to do physiotherapy and a lot of core strengthening exercises, which I try to continue to this day. Um, it causes me a lot of discomfort with my low back injuries, and side pain it adds to it. I also had experiences like going to open a door, and there was one door in particular that I went to open, and I thought it was like kind of jammed a bit because it was in a really old building. And I gave it a little tug, and apparently it just had I don't know if the lock wasn't on very well, but the door was locked on the other side. And when I gave it a little tug, apparently the lock flew off, and it seemed to the person on the other side that uh, I was ripping the door handle out. Like, I don't know if they might have been exaggerating. The lock might have had shitty, like, it was like this tiny little latch lock that might have had tiny little screws or not. I don't know. But either that or I overnight, like, grew tremendous strength and almost pulled this door off. Like, I wasn't intending to, but I gave it a little, like, tug with a finger, and like it was like whatever they said. Um, so who knows? I don't know. But I did feel noticeably stronger. Like I could jump on my bike and just give a couple of quick pushes, and I was like flying down the street. Whereas before it wasn't like that. So um, there's that aspect. What else? Yeah, like my feet growing and like changing sizes, all my clothes like from before, unless it was like oversized or like something stretchy like a t-shirt. Like basically got rid of clothes that I had before. So anything really nice, like I had to get rid of like all my shoes, which kind of sucked. I don't recommend buying anything too nice or fancy when you're first buying male clothes, if you're buying them around the same time that you're starting hormone treatment, because you'll go up a size. Like even my height, it's partially because I was doing a lot of body work and learning to sit taller and like um, have my spine properly aligned because of my back pain. But also I had chest surgery early on, and that allowed me to like finally feel like I can open up my chest and put my shoulders back. With all those changes of having the chest surgery and being able to feel like I can finally relax in a kind of open posture, and to like sit taller, like have my body taller and carry my spine in a better alignment, and having a lot of physio and massage therapy and doing core exercises with that in mind. My height went from, I was probably shrugging before and trying to hide my chest, obviously, because I was uncomfortable with that. My height is consistently 6 foot to 6'1". I was even as much as 6'2". I don't know if it was because of shoes, but it was standing particularly tall and having more space in my discs in my spine. Um, but I'm generally, I would say 6'1". Whereas before, I was always maximum 5'11" and a half was my max height, 5'10" usually. Um, so that did increase slightly, and my overall general physique, like my torso got not fatter, but like thicker, more sturdy looking, and that could also be because of exercising my internal core muscles a lot more. So I don't recommend buying any clothing that's like fancy or expensive until you've been on T for a bit, until you kind of slow down with the growth hormone aspect of it. And that may take a year, 2 years. I mean, do what you need to do. I mean, I just recommend like going to like Winners or Marshalls or Payless or something if you're looking at shoes. Like I go through skate shoes kind of quicker than most people would. So I would go to like a Winners or something, get them for $60 rather than $120. If you're trying to save for travel costs for surgeries and stuff, then, or to, if you're gonna buy a suit, like spend the $2,000 on a suit, maybe 3 years into your transition or 2 years into your transition rather than in the first month or two, because your suit size might change from like luckily I'm still like 38R, and the width of my shoulders hasn't changed. I've like increased and decreased muscle mass on my shoulder, but it's stay relatively the same bone structure there. But my feet did increase for sure. So yeah, there's that, and the expenses around it you might want to consider. And with that, like, expect those expenses. Being trans, you might experience like job loss, you might experience like transphobia, work discrimination, transphobia, and not getting hired for jobs because you are trans and maybe you don't have the right, you didn't change your name on the license, or you don't want to be stealth, or like I don't want to be stealth, so I'm in a lower income bracket. I can only get certain jobs, and I've been outright told not to dress masculine in my previous job, so I can't make, well, it was 10 years ago, but I was making $550 a day, so I can't make that anymore. Like, it's just not an option. And now with the added issue of disability, like I can't physically do that job anymore. So yeah, I can't obviously afford to be replacing clothes as often or cover those added expenses that are gonna add up. You might also experience a lot of loss in family and friends that you thought you had. Sometimes it's really surprising, like a friend I had for 8 years before my transition is no longer friends with me. I've had people, show up for one meeting and be totally supportive and in agreement with you and non-transphobic, and then refuse to go on a second uh, meeting or date or hang out with you. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, what happened and why. And the only reason I can see from before and after my transition is that I'm trans. There's no other reason that I would be so extremely socially isolated. Um, some things that have, because of my transition, that are related, that are not a direct cause, but they are because of my transition, are things like my inability as somebody who's accepted myself and who I am, to accept others that have opposing political beliefs. So if, for example, a person is racist, I personally cannot allow that into my life and into my group of people, or as a person in my life that I would consider a friend or a family. So I have a family member who is racist, and at one point, after, I've told them throughout my life, I've known them my entire life, that I was uncomfortable with their racism, if they could tone it down, if they could use this word instead of that racist word to be more socially acceptable and accepting of people of different backgrounds. Um, they consistently refused. They did not make any attempts to be more socially conscious and not be racist. But it came to a point where in my life where I had transitioned and I knew who I was and what I was and was not willing to stand for. And that came through the strength that I found myself through transition. I came to a point where I was like, okay, I'm going to give them 3 more chances. And if in those 3 chances they can either respect my anti-racism stance, or, and by that I mean like tone it down a bit or not be racist around me, or not use racist terminology like 3 times, like I would give them 3 slip-ups in a way, which I would address. But yeah, they blew through all 3 of them within a matter of months. And at the last one, I was like, can you please avoid using particular terminology I was uncomfortable with, the N word? And they basically laughed in my face and said, well, that's just what they're called, and refused to change the ways. And it happened again at a later point. I was really uncomfortable with that, and I did give them the 3rd chance. They blew it, and now I'm no longer in contact with this person. And it doesn't really matter to me anymore as a trans person, as a man who's accepted myself and my beliefs and who I am and who I've become and who I choose to associate with. That doesn't fall into my boundaries that I put up. I'm not willing to forego that just to say that I have a close connection with so and so member of my family. It's just not something I'm willing to overlook anymore and or turn a blind eye to, or it's not somebody I would want my partner to meet, or for any potential children that I have to be learning from or associate with or be around to overhear these forms of negativity, of bigotry and racism. So that's something I found that I wasn't really expecting in my transition, but that I've come to acknowledge and learning about myself and to accept about myself. And if that in turn means I have to be socially isolated, then I'd rather take a stand with my anti-racism than to accept somebody who consistently is an outright like racist. So that's not necessarily a negative medical side effect of testosterone, but it is an emotional and mental side effect of transition, and for me taking hormone therapy, which was part of my transition and uh, an extension of being on testosterone, is uh, finding self-worth and strength in myself um, through my taking charge of my life and taking control of my life and becoming the person that I always knew I am through taking testosterone. So there's that piece. Another thing I've experienced that I'm not sure if it's like connected or not, it is mentioned in the side effects of being on HRT, is a risk of heart attack or heart issues. There's a history of heart issue on both sides of my family, heart attack, blood pressure issues, strokes, and that sort of thing. And it's on both sides of my family directly related. I had a grandfather who had several strokes and then died of a heart attack. He had, I think, 8 strokes and then finally died of a heart attack. And then on my other side of my family, my grandmother had died of a heart attack, a heart failure. So, and also my father has had a severe stroke. I've had throughout my life heart palpitations, which means the heart beats irregularly. I found with early on in my transition of taking hormone therapy, I had more heart palpitations, so irregular heartbeats. That would happen consistently once or twice a month, and it scared me a lot. Nothing severe had happened. I didn't have a stroke or anything, but it did scare me, and I was afraid of heart attack. I wore a heart monitor from the hospital that has electrodes hooked up to different parts of your chest and body, and you carry a monitor box on your belt for 24 hours to monitor that. They didn't find anything. I didn't have any palpitations that I felt during that time frame, but it was a concern I had, and I upped the ante on eating healthy and making sure I had all my vitamins. I was having smoothies, and I started exercising regularly, doing preventative medicine like just like general like yoga type practice daily, and um, anti-stress precautions. You might want to look into that if you're at risk. I also started transitioning medically at 35 years old, so I was a lot older than what people have access to today, because that's when access actually opened up in my country, in Canada. HRT went like back on the books as a covered medication in 2008, and that's when I started looking into it and went through a 2-year process to get hormone replacement therapy 2 years later. That's how long the wait list was. So yeah, that's what my experience is around a heart issue. That's what I'm gonna wrap it up at right now. I know I talked about a lot of different things. If people have questions around this, feel free to leave a comment. There are other issues, but those are the key ones that I found bothered me. There's also a lot of hair growth. I got lots of hair on my face, got thinning hair in my head. I did take a prescription actually for hair loss, and I want to warn against it. I took finasteride. I recommend not taking that. It kind of stops additional hair loss, and you would have to continue to take it for the rest of your life. It slows it down. Over time, you start losing hair again at a slower rate. After about 3 or 4 months, I took it for maybe 5 or 6 months, but there are severe extreme side effects from it. One of the key ones for me was like added depression and really bad dreams. I had a lot of you should Google some of the side effects. I would really look into these prescriptions because they have like really devastating side effects. It was basically making me feel really depressed and kind of really anxious, and I just really felt nervous and like out of sorts, and really wasn't behaving like my usual like kind of carefree, chill self. So yeah, I don't recommend taking it. It's not going to do anything for you long term, and you're just going to get older. And if you have hair loss in your family, that's what's going to happen. Fortunately, I feel like I traded it for this really nice beard I have, and I'd rather personally have the beard and a bit of hair loss than not be able to grow a beard and keep all the hair loss I had. So yeah, leave me a comment and a thumbs up, a like if you want, subscribe to my channel. I have a Patreon, feel free to contribute, buy me coffee, and I have an Instagram link below. Follow me on Instagram. I post thumbnails of my videos I have coming up, and I also like tweet out on Facebook about it, but I don't usually use those, so I don't leave links to. They're on my main part of my page, but yeah, feel free to leave a comment and let me know what your thoughts are. Yeah, if you enjoyed the video or not, and if you have questions or concerns about any of the stuff I mentioned. And next time I'm going to record my tee shot, so if you don't want to see that, then now's the time to click away from that down here and go to check out the next video. Alright, have a great week. Peace. Okay, so got all my stuff. I recommend cleaning your kitchen chair off before using it to set up your tee shot. Delidestral, alcohol swabs, single use, sterile. This is an 18 gauge uptake needle. This is a 22 gauge injection needle. This is a Luerlock system plunger, syringe plunger. These are band-aids. And so, yeah, we take our Delidestral out of the bottle. Looks like this. I warm it up by rubbing it between my hands and to kind of stir up the solution a bit. So that's that. Take my alcohol swab. Just make sure my hands are clean. It has two little sides. You can unfold it. Clean out the top here. Injection bottle. Set that aside. My plunger syringe. Open it up. The 18 gauge. Usually they're pink, so I always think pink to blue or pink to the other color. Sometimes these ones are blue if it's a 23 gauge, I think it's blue. This one's 22, so pink to gray. Just make sure you got the right ones. You don't want to do your injection with an 18 gauge because it's quite a thick syringe tip. Put a bit of air into the syringe, pull back, and put that into the Delidestral bottle past the solution mark. And that kind of just depressurizes, and then I pull it back into the solution. Upside down. I'm trying to show you what I'm doing while I'm doing it, but I don't know if it's working very well. I usually go this way. See if that works. So I pulled back, put solution in, squirted it back out, pulled back inside of the solution again. I see an air bubble, so I'm going to go all the way out again. And with the tip in the solution, which you can see in the bit of clear part here, where you're at. I go past the amount that I need and then push it back out into the bottle to the half mark. Then I take that out, upside down, it seals up. Then you can see I'm at the half mark. That's 1 cc and that's a half cc. 0.5 cc. So I just pulled this back till it was past this see-through bit at the end of the, because that's actually attached into the needle and being removed. All you're using is this. And I take my 22 gauge, put that onto the needle, syringe part, take the end off, and then I'm just gently pushing this air bubble out till it fills up in that part. And then I do that until a little drop comes out at the end. Oh, see it there? It's kind of hard to see. You can see this is a very skinny needle compared to the other one. I'll show you. See the difference between the uptake and the it's the same distance. So see, it's almost double. Put the cap back on. Put the cap back on this one. And this goes into your safe tips disposal bin. So these have become garbage items. Put this back in the box. I also keep the paper in there because this is glass. Just for some extra shock absorption. Not much of a difference, but I mean, I sometimes drop this on the floor and I always keep it in the box, so you don't want to break that $80 little bottle. So this guy's ready to go. Another alcohol swab, and which this muscle up here from here to about here is the gluteus minimus, and then that one is underneath down into the bottom of the bum is the gluteus maximus. You want to do it there because there's less nerve ending. You want to go on the upper outside of the gluteus. Draw back a little bit and then plunger in. That's it.